Hello and welcome to the Social Hotelier show. In this episode, I'm meeting Pernilla Gripenberg, who is the program director for Hanken SSE Executive Education. Hello, Pernilla.
Hello, thank you for inviting me to this interview or this discussion.
More of a discussion than an interview. Well, Pernilla, for those who don't know you, could you tell us about yourself and what are your activities here at the Hanken SSE?
Thank you. So Hanken at SSE Executive Education provides leadership training, leadership development to client companies, and we work with all the big Finnish companies, also internationally. And we have different kinds of approaches depending a little bit on who is in the program. So leadership development for different levels of leadership, and then we also have the program called Business Lead, where the target group is refugees and immigrants who are educated and speak English well. So then we have this integration program for, and we're also part of this BRAN network, and within that frame we were invited to New York by Richard Branson to speak about the program, and it has also received several awards and lots of interest in Europe and in Finland.
The Business Lead, for how many years have you been running the program now, and what is sort of the kind of impact that this program has on the immigrants or refugees in Finland?
We have started in 2016, and we just launched the sixth round here in Helsinki last week, and the week before that we also had our first program in Vaasa at our Vaasa campus. So that's and the impact really has been it takes like 7 years average for an immigrant to find a job in Finland, which is quite incredible that it's so difficult. And now we can see that after the program, which also includes an internship, many of those participants move on to actually receiving a job or continue studying at some level.
Yeah, well, that's very exciting. And the funding of these kind of programs, is that the government funding, or are these private funding programs normally, or how do you operate in that sense?
With the Business Lead, we are part of the Social Impact Bond, which is managed by Epicus, and it's Sitra and other kind of funds funding that. Yeah. So.
The Social Impact Bond is a very unique fund program even around the world, and I've been very closely associated with this with you. So it's very good to see that this is a very smart way by companies to invest into the social welfare for those immigrants.
Yes.
Now this BRAN is Richard Branson, right?
Yes.
That's quite exciting that some institution or business education from Finland are in New York making a presentation.
Yeah, I don't really know how that happened, but it was somehow through Hanken School of Economics and the rector who had been somehow invited there, and she involved us, and then we met the first time in London a couple of years ago with the BRAN network, and then we were invited to this event. So yes, it was kind of a unique thing. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you very much for giving us this insight on Hanken SSE Executive Education. And what is your role here?
So I work as a program director, and my role is to design the learning experiences together with our clients. It's not always learning experiences, but the kind of development path, what we are trying to do for the client, and I translate it into some kind of learning experience then. So I design our programs, and I ensure that the red thread is there, and that the learning happens in the way we want it to happen, and that's my role.
Now you travel quite a bit, attending conferences and which are held in hotels.
Yes.
I remember what prompted me for us to have this discussion is that I sensed in you that you have a little bit of concern about how the facilities that are provided for you and what are sort of what are the things that are your sort of pet peeves about when you go to a hotel and you go to a conference? You tell us about that.
So recently I attended this conference of innovative learning spaces, and I have always known that the space where you are is very important for what you can do in terms of building up a learning experience. So space matters in learning. And this summit that I attended, it was the fourth Innovative Learning Spaces Summit in Barcelona just a couple of weeks ago. And I was really inspired about the variation and the different things that you can do with space. And there were architects and interior designers and people from different business schools and from all over the world. I head our design team, which is when we start to work on a development program with our clients. I design the kind of a learning experience there, and then recently I attended this conference of innovative learning spaces, and I have always known that the space where you are is very important for what you can do in terms of building up a learning experience. So space matters in learning, and this summit that I attended, it was the fourth Innovative Learning Spaces Summit in Barcelona just a couple of weeks ago. And I was really inspired about the variation and the different things that you can do with space. And there were architects and interior designers and people from different business schools and from all over the world. It was also about virtual spaces, but I was more thinking about the physical space for since we don't have our own training facilities, but we go to the conference centers around Helsinki, around the different places in Europe, depending on where our clients want us to arrange it. And we're always looking for kind of cool places where we can have our conferences, but usually we end up in hotels because we have people coming from different places, and then it's most convenient to be in a hotel. And still most conference facilities in these big hotels, yes, they are nice and good, but they are not innovative at all. And there's just so much you could do instead of having conference rooms that are, yes, they have chairs and tables and a projector and a widescreen, but thinking about how flexible the furniture is, like how can you arrange the seating? Can you rearrange it during the day? Is it flexible? That's something that is quite rare, that you could actually move the furniture around during the day for different purposes. And how much can you use the walls for writing, for drawing, for hanging up your flip charts, and for workshopping with post-it notes or whatever, like these kind of different methods that we use to make the whole experience more interactive and more engaging and more creative, and having people move around and not just sit and listen to a lecture, because that's not what we do. We have this mission of creating impact through insight. We need to get those, or have people get these insights, and that's rarely done by purely lecturing. At least you need something else to digest things, and we are very, very much looking into interactive methods and learning and teaching methods that are kind of at the forefront.
So this would mean also that the facilities that you are using should also be able to adapt to your needs. That's
Absolutely.
What you're saying, isn't it?
Yes. And it's not only about the conference room, it is also about what's outside the conference room. So are there launch areas where people can sit, and we often have, for example, coaching in trios. Can they do that, or do they have to sit in the conference room the whole day? Is there possibility to move around and go and do small group work somewhere else? And so it's the whole thing. It's also about the food, actually, very much about the food, because learning requires a lot of energy, so you need good food. But then again, And some hotels, this is not like, I'm not saying that everyone is bad at anything, but thinking about what is it that you serve for the afternoon coffee, for example? Is it a huge pulla, like a bun?
Yeah, a lot of sugar?
With lots of sugar and kind of making you drowsy, or is it like, do you have a kind of a buffet where you can pick different things? Some hotels are marvelous at this, so I have seen things where you consider, okay, there are some vegetables, there are some, nuts, there are different things, so you can pick. And then also in the different, like, what kind of stationery do you have in the facilities? Do we always bring our suitcase with scissors and post-it notes and markers and tape and different things, because in many places you don't have that, and we use a lot of kind of material, stationary material also. So it's a lot of different things that enable us to do workshopping and move around and not just sit and have a lecture, which is the kind of traditional way. And it's not always about technology. I was just in Riga in a brand new hotel, and we were actually the first conference they had ever arranged there. And it was marvelous, technically really great. They had this click share thing for the projector and the computer, and everything was integrated, and you didn't need any cord at all. Music came and everything, but that's not, and that's what I think many new conferences they are focusing on the technology, but that's not all. That's not enough. That's really nice to have, but this possibility to move around and to use creative ways of visualizing things, that's equally important. Of course we want to have good technology, but it's not really the thing. And with the furniture, I'm just babbling on here.
No, go on. This is a lot of value you're giving now.
Yeah, and the furniture, oftentimes we start by moving around the furniture. That's where we usually start. Even though we have given instructions to the conference centers, we want fishbone, or we want what kind of group tables or whatever. We always have group tables because we believe in that participants should share and discuss and talk in small group. It's part of our way of our approach to learning. But having, for example, wheels under the chairs would be wonderful. And I have seen one conference center where we have wheels under the chairs, so you can just, roll over to the next table easily. And that's something quite minor, but it makes a big difference for the flexibility.
I think that for hotels, these kind of workshops, conferences are big business. Yeah. But hotels tend to think very traditionally that, we have a wedding, a reception, we have a banquet, we have a cocktail party, and then we have these workshops. And so they tend not always think broad enough to be very specific to the needs of the kind of customers that could be satisfied through the kind of things you're doing. But what I noticed in Middle East and also in Dubai and also in Bangkok, there are a couple of hotels who have taken this on board. And they have, first of all, when you walk into this area, it's not called conference area or banquet area. It is called events area. Yeah. So it's about events. And also specifically for the kind of events that you're organizing. If you're organizing the kind of workshops and what you are talking about, they actually have everything there. They have the post-it notes, they have the scissors, they have everything. It's not like they're expecting you to bring your own thing and then they only serve you the food and have the tables and chairs. Yeah. But they go through a lot of detailing in order to make sure that they have this. And but one thing I haven't seen, and you are rightly pointing out, I haven't seen the wheels under the chairs. And I think that's a very, very important part to, and also that you would have tables that you can adjust the heights.
That's also true, really, that you could actually stand. Yes, super. And also the tables could have wheels, so that they are easily movable. Yeah. And we saw that in our Vasa campus. They had just had some new furniture at the Hanken Business School in Vasa. Okay. And there was this quite small room for 20, 30 people maybe. And they had these kind of smaller tables with a bit round. They were not round, but they were kind of square but with rounded corners, and they were adjustable. You could sort of rearrange them in different ways, so you could have them like a flower. I can't describe the form. Like, it wasn't square, it was like a triangle almost. So you could move them around and have them in different kind of ways. So that also makes it easier to arrange those, because many times the tables are quite big, and then it makes them quite inflexible.
Yes.
So when you have put them there, they are there.
Yeah. I mean, this whole this kind of conferences are big business worldwide. So I think those points that you have brought up now here in our discussion is very valid. So I think hotels who are smart, they should really pick up on this now. But anything else you'd like to add for the hotels?
Also thinking about these when we at this conference where I was, we talked about learning spaces. So it's not only about the room, but it's like there are different zones, talking about different zones for different activities. And that's also when you enter a kind of a conference room. Some places they have this, that for example at the back you have high tables, so you can move the whole group, stand around the high tables for one thing, and then you can go sit down in your group tables for another thing. So these kind of zones that have different functions, that's also a way of thinking and coming away from this traditional classroom thinking.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, Pernilla, thank you very much. It has been a very enlightening. I learned also a lot in our discussion. So thank you very much. And
thank you.
Please follow us on the Social Hotelier network, and look out for the next episode.